there is one meme that has risen.
New York, we say Tuah.
Out of pure stupidity. Better known as the Tuah podcast. I'll be listening to a fair amount of their podcasts. That's if I don't perish of cringe, of course. Okay, hands up where I can see them. Alright. I will watch the Tuah podcast. If you want a bit of a history lesson on her, she apparently rose to fame from a joke in which I cannot disclose on this channel, but are probably going to be available on all these channels. I'm not going to go into the strange, obscure, weird version of her podcast. I'm just going to go it from a natural, genuine perspective. If it's actually bad, I will actually say it's bad. If it's actually good, I will give it a high review in my books. I was talking to one of my friends today, alright? And he said, how can you actually know what's good music / the thick of it is good or not? You don't even listen to music. My nature is kind of in not listening to music. So I don't want to give up my Spotify premium membership just yet. I've listened to a few podcasts. Hence the reason why me and my best friend decided to start our own podcast, which is actually a puppet version, which sets us apart in a way. I mean, I don't know about you, but I definitely wasn't going to go into that genre without any knowledge about it. I mean, you know, when you see a meme, you take it, but I feel like this is all just big whole meme. She's milking the meme in some way or some sort. This is just on the YouTube channel. So let's see the type of topics they cover. It looks like really personal, genuine topics that would be openly wide to a large, broad audience. So first of all, you get a thumbs up from someone who probably isn't qualified to give this information, but let's see. Okay, titles such as I said Hawk Tour and now I'm here. I feel like the first few videos were trying to prepare her for podcasts because it's mostly just about the meme. I guess they need a representation of who she actually is. So I guess that's good character art for it. Introducing talk. I mean, she already introduced herself once, but I guess you just have to kind of get to know the podcasters before you actually dive into hour-long episodes, because you know how people's attention spans are nowadays. These thumbnails are very recognizable. They have talk to her in the background. They have like a really niche down kind of topic, talking to other people. I think that's the kind of topic she's going to dive into. But with only 40 videos, 170,000 subscribers is absolutely mad. But I like how they have like the podcast section with playlists, because that's definitely going to get them a lot more views. 20 videos, god damn it, she's doing better than you. Shush, no one needs to know about that. I mean that the button is down there, but don't feel obliged to. Watching a few clips, kind of episodes, kind of roaming around. The first things I noticed was the text was a bit jarring. You know those kind of times when you can't watch a movie because it's too brightly colored, too like on the edge all the time. My first ever video was absolutely ridiculous. It was too fast paced, just you couldn't even focus on one literal thing. So the text is just like a bit too jarring. Like you see my font's like just very simple, easy to read. Any person can read the font. Probably like the Comic Sans problem I have. Or I remember watching those Mr. Beast videos. Of course, because it was on a dark background, Comic Sans is really nice to see. But when they have a drop shadow behind the text, look at that text, something to improve, because my eyes, I am just gonna look around shop level floor view of where my eyes are literally going. First of all, the whole genuineness and atmosphere is loving. I love this. But the only thing is the music at the start just doesn't really go with the clips. Comedy, and it doesn't really matter in that sector. I feel like if they were looking into niching out, etc., to a broader audience, I feel like they should really change that music. The intro is the most important part, and if you have a bad music going with your video, like it can really put people off, and then that 15 seconds to 30 seconds where they're watching it is just no go. I mean, it's just like the goal of life. Not everything can be for everyone. Like, here's a little story. I remember my mum was cooking eggs. Me and my mum love eggs, so we had the nice boiled, the nice texture, the yolk inside, like cooked to a medium heat. It was lovely. The soldiers, very thin, very stringy, very crunchy on the bottom. And when my brother was presented with eggs, he was like, no, I am not having eggs. Are you maybe asking why doesn't he like eggs? Because they have a mushy texture. Ew. I guess if you put it that way, but eggs, you gotta love them. I mean, to people really having a bad day, this is a godsend. I mean, sure, anything could be memed upon, mainly because you people are sheep and you just follow what everyone else does. But to be honest, I see your point in the way it's produced, compared to the other media you consume. But at the same time, I like her idea of innovating the way that podcasts are made, because most podcasts seem the same, so you kind of have to really stand yourself out. Of course, they are super popular at times, but this year has just been a skyrocketing for podcasts. Like other years may be a downfall for podcasts. It just depends. For example, it was a bit like when Dan TDM was forced to grow up with his audience in a slow and steadily growth way while still making content he enjoyed. You can't say the same for other YouTubers who just stick to kids content. The main audience who used to come for that type of content, go. Because you wanna, if you've spent that many years building an audience, you kind of wanna keep it growing and thriving in the same way, but grow up with your audience. Like Dan TDM was the rising star. Same thing I would say from the start, the first minute into the first episode, is that the intro. Is that because they've risen to fame so quick? They didn't have time to initialize their audience from the entire meme as a whole. So for the time being, they're laying on an audience from children to young adults. I mean, at least they know their audience. They literally don't have to change anything. It's just the people who are their audience right now are still learning about life, and it's fun to make memes, as long as it doesn't hurt anyone. They're just having a good time. Memes are supposed to be taken lightly, not taken to an extreme level like, you can't say that about the podcast. Because they probably don't truly mean it. Unless you do, then you're actually just a hater, man. After that though, great podcast, to be honest. I would say that if the topics weren't a bit per se awkward, as a whole, they have a great advice in this podcast. Like, you really know what's going on. I mean, it's struggles anyone could have. But as well, I think the topics they're discussing, some in which normal attention span of people like us, children, would not watch this entire podcast, but at points, if they do skim, they will get to some interesting topics that are probably not permitted at that age group. But at the same time, you people on the podcast know this. I know it's problems we all have to talk about and it's widely known, but some of these people are, you know, she knows the demographic that watch the meme. At the same time, it is on her front. I might get cancelled for this, but I know swearing, everyone does it, you know, lots of people do it. I don't personally. I have no way of proving it, you just kind of have to believe me on this one. So personally, it's your choice though. I'd lay off the swearing, but if you don't want to, that's completely fine. It's just a word of advice. On that note, at the same time, they're doing something in which most podcasts won't do. I mean, sure, podcasts do it, talk about global and economical problems, but not to the extent these people do. They talk about finance, so even if they are of an age to not watch this podcast, they still are taking in a lot and learning a lot of valuable knowledge. So I think that is a good, positive takeaway. I mean, sure, you can't please everyone, but that's expected in life. The only worry about this podcast is since it's built on a 30-second meme, it can easily die out as long as the clips just downfall and people aren't making them anymore. But on the side note, as a whole, this podcast is great. People are going to say, no, it isn't in the comments, of course, because people have varied opinions and they probably haven't watched an episode in their life, or they have. But for the whole, it's an okay podcast. They're talking, they're putting themselves out there. And to be honest, that is hard to do. Now, most of these comments / suggestive themes, like the top comment is actually ridiculous. I can't specify exactly what it says. But this is, the comment section isn't safe. The comments are so out of line that I can't even read them on this video because it would probably cause some discussion and I would be as bad, if not worse, as the people who have the audacity to actually type these. I'll explain them in simple words. They are basically taking the mick of worldwide actual problems that are actually so serious to a level that if they said that in real life, they could go to jail or worse. Yeah, sure, you can look at it in the limelight of a joke, but in the other way, not all of these people are up for a joke. Some people take some topics too serious to another level. So that's why I would definitely say be careful what you're typing. Just be careful what you're communicating on social media as a whole. Like describing you being abused in the comments, which may or may not be right. I am in no order to say if it's right or wrong, but the way it's worded makes me think some people think it's very funny to comment these comments on these videos. Okay, you're probably laughing at me right now saying, it's very a joke, but when you go to this level, I was kind of starstruck when I looked at that comment and had to put my phone down for a few minutes. But at the same time, people need to be told, because I don't see a lot of people actually witnessing and taking notice of these comments and what's actually happening. Because people, if not told wrong, think this is absolutely okay. But some of these comments are light jokes, but some of them are just absolutely outrageous and just need to be stopped. What's worse is every comment is the same. In class, bullies bullying you, you do nothing about it, then they think it's okay to do it to you more than once. You're just walking in. Why would they do this? Because you're not speaking up for yourself. They think it's okay unless it's proved wrong. Now that was the serious part. I had to include that because otherwise people will be confused. This is not all light-hearted. Getting back onto my review as a whole on the media, I can't have a main opinion about this because I haven't watched every episode. I've just done all of the research I could have in the time frame I had for this video. So if you did go on to enjoy it, aside from the dark part of it, please consider subscribing, as yeah, if you enjoy this content and you want to see more of my weird, obscure, kind of serious videos sometimes. See ya.